We are going live. Beautiful day in the neighborhood here. As I put the last coat of wax on the bus and armor all the tires and shine the chrome. So welcome aboard. Your favorite incense is right there in your seat. Anyway, how y'all doing? Speaking favor upon us, it is Wednesday, as Nina always says. It's hump day, so make sure to tune in there. Hey, Susie Q, what's up, darling? Good to see you. Deborah Sloan, much love to you. You're, like I said, you're that surrounding energy we talked about. So thank you. And DC, what's up? I saw Darlene Totten in here earlier. Darlene and I go way back. We were, I think, and I know she had to leave, but junior high, Beverly Hills Junior High. Anyway, her dad and my dad both worked at NASA. So there we go. DC, what's happening? Good to see you, Cecilia. Good. Hello. Stephen, what's up? Robert, hello. Who else did I say? Purgatory Traveler. What's Mr. Floyd? Good to see you. Go, all the way from Croatia. So anyway, Cecilia, do you know there's a song about you? Like she's never heard that before. Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel. Cecilia, you're breaking my heart. Yeah, anyway. So what's up? It's one whacked out world, man. There is no doubt about it. It is, we live, the saying, may you live in interesting days. Well, you look back in history and you think about people who lived in a moment of history. Let's say when, I don't know, the fall of the Roman Empire, Pompeii. I mean, just think about any event. And were those people cognitively aware that they were in a moment of history that would be remembered by future generations? Now, we all hope to be remembered. I'm going to get Jay on Weiler with who did the film with Ryder Lee. And you think about the period with the world expositions, the Tartarians. I mean, there's some history there, folks, that something went on anyway. But we are that generation who is living history right now. I mean, yeah, we all live history, but this is going to be one that the books will write about. Anyway, Linda Espinoza, hello, my darling. Hello, Russell, good to see you. Lori, hello, Bernadette. There's a song about you, too. Manifesting Annie, how are you? I love that. Remember the song Avenging Annie? I kind of like that song. Particularly the first entrance to that, Doom, 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 doom. I got the song in my head. Zulu, what's up? Good to see you. Hard Truth Hall, good to see you as well. So, yeah, lots of strange stuff going on. I got to tell you, I was reminded, Rex Bear and I, let's see, back, I think 2017 on his show Leak Project. And I talked about the then VP of this nation. Wow. Yeah. Ain't gonna touch that. No. Not even with 100-meter prod pole. Nope. Because folks, it is some strange stuff. There's no doubt. It's whacked out there. And one of the things we're going to be talking about today, Lost in Space. Hello, Howard. Good to see you. Much love to you and favor to you as well. Daddy Rabbit, what's up? So, I had this conversation here recently. And this individual, although was, 20 years younger than I was, absolutely convinced we never went to the moon. Had a litany of evidence, which was no evidence at all. I would say maybe misinterpreted, but yeah. And for me, where I am in my young life, and I'm still young. I mean, folks, youth, you never grow old. We are indeed, as Rod Stewart would say, forever young. We are. I know Mick Jagger just recently celebrated his 80th birthday. Yeah. He's in better shape than most 40-year-olds. People, men half his age. And it's true. And it's here as well. Many of us in this group, we've known each other way before this time. But we got this thing inside of us. Yeah, we recognize that there is this evolution of cycles. But if your mind stays young, oh, your body's going to love you for it, man. And this is true. Where I live, it's very country. And Lynn and I were talking about this. It's here. It's like when you hit 60, 61, these people here age. I mean, they really do. They become old in their mind. And the body is going to follow where the mind goes. And, if the mind's telling the body, you're old, you're old, you're old, well, eventually the body's going to manifest exactly what your mind is telling it to do. Yeah. I'll be leaving with a smile and a spirit of gratitude. When that time comes, I've said this many times, and I'm speaking to myself in the future, Wayne, you did it, man. But man, I'm going out with a smile and a thank you. I mean, this has just been one far out trip. I fucking love it. I mean, it is just, it's had its pain in the asses, dying, almost dying, the disease, meningitis, plus this thing that grows in your spine. And, I mean, it's crazy. But wow. Gilbert, I know you're up in Sturgis, brother. I know you check in here. Like at Gilbert. Gilbert, I think 71, 72. I don't know. Now, Gilbert, if I aged it, then I apologize. Just flip the number around. It's 27, not, anyway, gets on his hog and rides up to the bike rally up in Sturgis. He's texted me. He says 500 miles, man. He says that's when you get real with yourself. That's when you really find out just what the fuck you're made of, Do you have the balls, the inner tenacity, the core strength to keep that chopper up, and riding through it? And I said, yeah, and the damn bugs. He said the flies taste the worst, but so anyway, yeah, we are as young as we see ourselves. It's the matrix, is that inner self image. What do you really look like? Yeah. I am forever captured in my mind's eye. I'm that, and I can see it right now, 15, And I look back at and where I'm at now, the same dude, man, just a little bit further on the track of life. But man, that's all I got to say. So anyway, said all that to get to the point of this person, at my age, my family history, going to the moon, it was like, yeah, can tell you exactly where I was at. I've said this before, and it reminded me as I put this together. I got a little presentation I'm going to show. That when was the last time that all humanity, for that brief moment, were in unification? It's when we landed on the moon. I had to remind myself of that we were unified as a species. We were in awe of our magnificent ability to create, to manifest something that they say today, NASA will say to you, we can't do it. We can't replicate that. Just can't do it. In fact, sad to say this, they lost the blueprints for Apollo. Some weird stuff going on. So let me just get right to this, because, this is kind of cool when you just look back at this. We're coming up, let's see, in 69. So what would that be like? Been a while. So we're coming up 53rd, 54th. What is it? Someone up there real quick. So this is my presentation of us. The question, did we go to the moon? Now, I'm going to address some of the things that the deniers say that is proof that we never went, that this was all staged. Anyway, we'll get to that. So anyway, question is, did we land on the moon? Well, the debate, was it faked or was it truth? Well, maybe the fake is trying to use something that was used, but it wasn't ever to deceive or to distract. My dad got with NASA with Gemini. The Gemini missions were primarily to perfect our ability and the finesse of these astronauts, these pilots, in doing maneuvers in virtually a vacuum, docking, understanding inertia. For every force, there's an opposing force. And when we got it right, we paid the price. A lot of good men gave their lives for this Apollo 1. We almost didn't go. And again, my dad started with Gemini, stayed with the program all the way up into Aurora, was very intimately involved. He was the chief engraver. All the instrumentation, paneling, all of that went through him directly and his department. He was in Building 9, went out there several times at NASA. And yeah. So for me, it's like, yeah, of course we went. But then there are people who will say, well, and the footprints, one, the flag is another. Well, here's a fact about the flag. It was not cloth. It was an aluminum alloy. And if you went up there today into the landing sites, you wouldn't see the red, white, and blue. It's been bleached out. The technology that with what we had and what we accomplished, I dare say this is probably one of the crowning achievements for our species, because we truly did leave the umbilical cord of Earth itself. Not that far, but still. And it never, movement up there. I mean, again, the aspect of how they tried to say, no, another thing that they say is the shadows. Well, you have a light, you can't do that. Can't have a light that is refracting all the light and casting multiple shadows from multiple different. Yeah, you can. I asked this person, I said, hey, do you even have any aware of light in physics? Guy thought he was a smartass. Says, yeah, and blah, blah. And I said, so you're telling me that you're using the same applied physics on Earth on another planetary body, a moon, that has 1/6 of the gravity, virtually no atmosphere. Those laws here won't work up there. So the point is that the sun, as it shines on the moon, it reflects back, highly reflective. Why? Because we know there was a supernova. There was a nova in our time is when this moon was still orbiting. We know that. And light has a funny way, the sunlight has a funny way of refracting and reflecting on the surface. So anyway, it's still a proud moment for our species. Those footprints are still there. In fact, I'm going to be talking about that because that's another one where the people, the deniers, say, well, no, because they look at the shoe. We're going to look at that. But the whole thing is, yeah, we went there. My dad was personal friends with the developing team on the lunar rovers. I mean, these cats were pretty far out, man. They were really creative. And remember, they didn't have supercomputers. They had slide rules. Most people today. Now, here is the incontrovertible evidence. Because that right there, above everything else, makes this conversation almost ridiculous to have. Because we did go. That is a man-made reflector. We know exactly where it is. And I have told people over and over again, go to, if you have a planetarium, go to a university, talk to the astronomy department. Every one of them that has lasers in their, physics, whatever they're doing, can do the experiment. It's, you aim it. The Big Bang was known for that. They kind of busted the whole thing. The episode where all the boys and was up there and Penny's dumb boyfriend at the time. But as Leonard Hofstadter said, in the character, he said, this is the only tangible evidence we have that we were on the moon. He says, we can aim a laser and we can have that laser reflect back. And it tells us about distance, rotation. I mean, the whole bit. They can't come back on this one. There's the, well, it's like, yeah, kind of hard when you say, well, all right, if you're going to get technical about it. And this is, like I said, it's no mystery. But anyway, so this is Apollo 12, the landing site. You can actually see the footprints. They're still up there. So is the lunar module, the equipment. It didn't go anywhere. It's still there. Again, you get to see the footprints, and I'm going to people, I'm going, oh, someone said, well, that could be Photoshop. No, it can't. No need to. Why? Why would they do that? What would be well, number one, Photoshop didn't exist back then. Adobe wasn't even in the groins of the creative mind. No. And here is Apollo 17. We're going to talk about this one. I had the privilege and honor to actually sit and talk for about 2.5 hours to Gene Cernan. He has since transcended. It's a fascinating conversation. I've talked about this for years on the channel here. And I remember that the captain on the flight, it was a United flight, and as I told the head stewardess there, was in first class, I said, this is Gene Cernan, and she didn't know. And when I told her, you could see the look on her face. And she went immediately into the cockpit and, apparently told the captain and the co-captain to that, who was on board. How I got introduced was a United agent came in because I was waiting. I'm sitting 1A. And the United agent said, would you mind helping this gentleman on the plane. They were rather busy. I said, no, I had no problem at all. and, and when I looked at the ticket, it was Gene Cernan, and I shook his hand. And, anyway. And I remember asking him, I said, so what was it like when you stepped out? And he told me, he said there's almost this hum. And he said, you can't see the stars that well because the lunar surface is so reflective that, it blocks a lot of that out. But he said that it was just the feeling. He said it was unlike anything he's ever experienced. And he said the surface wasn't what he quite expected either. That was a great, great, great opportunity. I give thanks for my life. Yeah, so anyway, again, the lunar rover, still up there. I bet they could probably, they'd probably have to do some converting on the electrical panels on this, but I have no doubt they could easily get that sucker up and running again. This is a picture from, I believe, Apollo 8. And what you're seeing is the view of the astronaut here as he's taking this picture, and you can see the surface of the moon. And he said there was the Earth. Again, there's the Apollo command module. Equipment everywhere. I mean, we learned a lot. And then depending on who you really are talking to, we were chased off. Now, the big controversy has always been, and this is the point that I wanted to make, Apollo 16, my dad, who was a chief engraver, and this thing is tiny. It is really tiny because weight and everything had to be in here, but he was allowed to put a little plaque, and it has his name on there, my name's on there, my brother's name. So, it's like people say, well, we never went to the moon. I'm going, really? Now they'll say that, well, there were stages used, to create all this. Well, the real simple answer is yeah, there was a stage. There were several of them. I mean, NASA did not, we were 400,000 people, not only here in the United States, but throughout the world, worked on this project. And, depending on whose side you believe, well, Stanley Kubrick would have been a natural on this. But yes, they recreated the whole thing. I mean, I asked people, I said, if you were going to a swimming pool and you're in the real deep end, right? You see the lifeguard up there. Well, you're assuming that that lifeguard has experience, would know what to do in the event of what his training would require. We hadn't gone to the moon before. We tried to create it. This is a combination of talc powder, I think almost like a cement type of environment. But yeah, I said, some people, I said, so what? So they created a soundstage that simulated the moon and a moon landing. Yeah. So what do you think fighter pilots do? You think they put them in an F-22 right out of college? You're going to put a pilot in a $1 billion aircraft, right? No. He's going to go through training. He's going to go through simulations and what have you. And then you got the moon rocks. They're real. I've seen them. In fact, think some of them now have been released by NASA that you can buy them. But yeah. No, I guess they sent Amazon up there, and Amazon grabbed a rock and said, hey, this is that. Now, one of the things Gene Cernan told me that I was not aware of, do you see all this dust on, the spacesuit there? Well, what we found out from Neil Armstrong and there when manned first on Apollo 11 was this dust on the moon is not like we think of dust. It's microscopic razor blades, glass. And what they found, the astronauts used two different types of boots on this, and they went out. But what they found was that once they had been exposed to this dust, this stuff was corrosive is not the word. Gene said it would cut through anything. And it became a real problem, particularly on the first couple of moon landing missions. It's not to be dealt with. He said you could never, if you ever breathed any of this, he said it would be a very painful way to go. And we know this by, again, for this to happen on many of the rocks on the moon, on the surface, it showed that they were, I don't know what you want to call it, blasted, glass, extreme heat. You've got the mineralization showing that something took place, and apparently not just something. Apparently on the surface of the moon, we have helium-3, which is now well known to be probably the next rocket fuel source for space exploration. And they collected a lot of this stuff, a lot of moon rocks. And the thing is, we polluted the moon. I mean, we left our trash there, man, and it's still there. But again, as I said, the soundstage, well, it was very obvious. They had to have the feeling, at least a simulation. For instance, many astronauts, they train. I've seen the pool there in Clear Lake, Texas. It's huge. That's where they simulate zero gravity. But I don't see anyone making any stories about that. Then they get into the reflecting of this and that. Well, again, it I don't know. You can say, well, that's proof. I don't think that's proof at all, because, I can look at that and you can say that it looks like an alien or it looks like a guy in a suit. I don't know. But again, completely normal. I mean, this is what they do. But this is where people come back and try to say, so again, I ask you, then how did those lasers get there? How is it that you could actually take a telescope and zero in on the moon and actually see the tracks of the footprints still? The other big controversy is that, well, wait a minute, the footprint that we're told, well, that ain't the same thing that the astronauts used. The astronaut shoe inside the command module, they didn't wear shoes in there. They wore their socks, but there were not just a single shoe, but the outer shoe was exactly what it looked like. It wasn't anything of what I would call high-tech material. We used what we had. People say, well, then, how could they stand those temperatures? They had a spacesuit. And I remember, there was so much going on. Vietnam, then Watergate. We as a culture and a society, we just lost interest in it. And again, you have, well, how do you get the picture in the picture? Well, we now know that this was the other astronaut. Now, there is some weird stuff. Gene Cernan would never come, he did not come out and say that they were aliens, but he said we were not alone. And again, this is the lunar rover. Is that a far out dune buggy or what? I love that. And again, these are the actual pictures. You can actually see this is the Challenger. This is where the flag was. These are the footprints. Still up there. Moon buggy. Here's Apollo 17. It's, by the way, it's still parked up there. I want to go get that. But anyway, again, there are some things that obviously the public does not know. We do know you can have any telescope and go up there and look and find where we actually landed. So we did go there. The thing that I found that this is what Gene Cernan did leave with me, and I had never considered this before. The Saturn V rocket. If any of you have ever had the opportunity to be out at NASA in Orlando, out at Cape Canaveral and in Clear Lake, Texas, they have the models of them out there. And what technology? We can't duplicate it. We don't have the technology to duplicate this. And you can just see it's a marvel of technology. When this candlestick was lit, you could been, and if you've ever been down at Cape Canaveral, where the viewing area is there, it's way across the water inlet there. But it would register on a seismograph, would light up, the whole freaking east coast of Florida. And this is what Gene told me. He said, Wayne, he said, there were 20 missions approved by Congress, and they built all 20 rockets. They knew it was cheaper to build them all at the same time than building in piecemeal, one at a time. And he said further that it's real interesting. He said, I was the last commander, last human to walk on the moon. He said, the thing about it is, he said, where'd those other three go? To this day, we still don't know. No one talks about it. NASA doesn't talk about it. No one talks about it. However, there are reports, not at Cape Canaveral, but at other locations where they said a similar type rocket was seen leaving Earth. Now, Hollywood did so much on this. They actually did a movie. I think it's called Apollo 18. And supposedly these were classified missions for a purpose that no one talks about today. So I don't know. You can draw your own conclusions. I happen to think that there's a reason why we didn't go back. Then there are those, because it's weird. You think about it. The space race, Sputnik. I remember when Sputnik, I was, living with my grandparents. We were in Santa Clara. And everyone in the United States got afraid. Everyone in Europe, anyone part of NATO. The Russians put a satellite up in Earth orbit. The space race was on. And, I admire the Russians, admire the Chinese. They're Homo sapiens, for Christ's sakes. But, I also know something else, that they're competitive. And to this day, I could not figure out, and Gina and I, as part of our conversations, why did the Russians stop? The Chinese were a little late coming to the party. And, they made the first breakthrough of actually sending an unmanned rover, apparently, on the dark side of the moon. Apparently, the rumor mill says that they found more than just the dark side of the moon. I don't know. But again, I've always asked myself that question, hey, Putin, if any of you are listening over there, we got people listen to us over in Russia, write me and tell me, why did the Russians just abandon their space race? What was Khrushchev's thing? I mean, he hated Kennedy. Khrushchev, if there's anything, he would have loved to have rubbed Kennedy's face in it. It's one of those weird things. I don't know. Joyce, it's true. But anyway, and thanks for hitting the like button. I appreciate it. It's one of those things. I know this as well, particularly what came out of the Apollo missions. The advancement that we made for medical science is remarkable. Velcro came out of the what I would call the moon missions. 1,000 other different things. And as the infamous movie Apollo 11 showed, we were really kind of ingenious. Was it? No, it was it? No, which one was it? Forget which one. The one with Tom Hanks. I'll think of it here in a second. Y'all probably know. That freaking duct tape. It is the freaking miracle material. And I got duct tape. I've got all different kinds now. You got duct tape now that works, extremely well, even under the water. But anyway, might think as a mod, one might show a little more. So Blazing River, who's given the hard time? It's all right. I'm reading Steve Goldman's. That's okay. If only arbitrary borders didn't dictate humanity's teams, our species shoots itself in the intellectual rear every time. It's so true. I mean, we really do have the cranial anus that's so well, Hey, Jenny, how you doing? How's the room coming, hon? I thought that was fantastic. Here comes Jenny to the show, and that's dedication. You just got to admit, paint still on the hands. I mean, yeah, I can dig that. So anyway, there was my 2 cents worth for what it is worth. I mean, last week, I don't know if any of you caught the on C-SPAN. I didn't watch it live, but the testimony on the UAPs. Wow. And I happen to think that the so-called whistleblowers, I mean, they seem credible. They definitely know a lot more than I know. They got that hands-on experience. So apparently, and I guess, I don't know if the United States is alone on this. Maybe other countries have made similar recoveries. But according to so there was 2 witnesses. No, maybe there's 3. The one guy particularly who said that, yes, we had recovered non-terrestrial biologics. I love that. So does that make me a terrestrial biologic? It makes you a terrestrial biologic. Now you've gotten all your answers to why you're here and the purpose of your life. Your whole purpose comes down to this simple fact. You are a terrestrial biologic. Now accept that and do your thing. Let's see. So Laura says if we were on the moon at some point, and they do have advanced tech we didn't know about at the time, is the moon solid? Yeah, but this the thing is, that's the other thing Gene Cernan talked about. Apollo 16. I mean, you got to get these guys. I love the engineers back then. Well, we don't know, and they had the same questions. Is the moon hollow, a solid core? Because the physics of the moon don't make sense. It doesn't rotate. So how the hell does it have, gravity? And what keeps it there? But anyway, they wanted to know, is that solid or not? I love this. So they took our munitions on Apollo 16 and blasted it. I love this. Well, how are we going to find? Well, I don't know. Why don't we just put a bomb, just drop a bomb on there, let's just see what happens. They did. And as we now know, the damn thing ran like a bell. And not just for a minute. It went on ringing for quite a while. Now, I don't know about you, but what would cause a satellite, and they say it's a natural one, my ass, but anyway, to ring like a bell? Bong! I have this mental image on the inside, of the beings that are in there. They're watching us, and they've been watching us because we're an experiment, in this huge, microscope that we call reality. I could just see it. So here's Apollo 16 dropping bombs on the freaking moon, and boom! One goes off. Can you imagine the inside? It's like, oh crap, they're bombing us now. They just landed on here. Now they're bombing us. No spinning core or atmosphere to hold you down. Where's the gravity coming from? That's a good one, Daddy Rabbit. I don't know. Makes you think. So is gravity a result of spinning, of inertia? Or is gravity actually magnetic? No. I mean, if gravity is dictated by electromagnetism, I don't know. It's just, Bonnie says lunatic. Yeah, it's true. Ima says, then why does it affect the tides? Ain't that something, How does a hollow shell have such an influence on, and it's a fact, the moon is actually pulling away from Earth. These last two supermoons, they say, maybe, in fact, we won't have as one, what was it, 2 years ago when we had that huge supermoon? Looked like the damn thing was, coming in for a landing. Yeah, I don't know. Does it depend on weight? That's a good question. I mean, again, I would think that magnetism would have more of a force. I mean, water is a great conductor of electricity, right? It says that the moon rotates. It rotates with us, so we don't see it. But if you're looking from the sun, Blazer, I've studied that, and listen, I haven't seen any proof of that. If you're telling me that the backside of the moon is ever facing the earth, well, we know that doesn't happen. It stays always the way this is. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, it's one of the questions why we didn't go to the backside of the moon to land. You know, we don't got no communication back there. I don't know. It's interesting. I love this matrix because it is one trippy place. There is no doubt about it. And Joy says, God bless, God's blessed Mother Earth. Yeah, we'd be done by now. Love the earth. Yeah, I can really see how if you really had this choice to really leave the planet, if you actually had the opportunity to go out into space, let's say if you had the opportunity to go to Mars, you know, we made the colonization. And so would you want to go? I think about that. I don't know. I guess I could download all of my music, but I don't know. I find this earth to be a really, really cool place to be. I mean, it can get hot, it can get cold, it can get dry, it can get wet. Dang, seriously. What a trip. I'm sure in other planets they have their things that they can offer, but I don't know. And, you know, I guess it has always been this way. I mean, I love watching people. There was a time when I had to go to Las Vegas a lot. And in my spare time of that, I would go down in the front of the Bellagio, you know, where they have the water fountain show. And there was one particular enclave that went out that was covered and you know, I was really nice in the spring. It's not too bad out there. And it would be a place of doing kind of this quasi meditation. You watch people just as an observer. And if you get really good at it, you almost blend into the background where they don't see you. And of course, you're there, but you know, but I always found it interesting just to watch people. And this is what makes this place such a trip. It's an amusement park because you can see it, how different people interact with the same background. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. So did anyone ever moon anyone? I had a couple of nudist camps. Would that count? No. I haven't thought about that. Apparently others have as well. I love it. Maybe we should discern the artificial moons from the natural ones. There you go. Yeah. So, yeah, it's fun to think about because, you know, at some point in time, I guess we leave. It's one of those things. I mean, why do ghosts stay? I never figured that out. I did that thing about, you know, so when it's your time, are you going to be buried under 6 feet of ground? That's a lot of weight. You know, it eventually compresses, right? But anyway, or are you going to go out with a flame? See, I'm going the flame way. It's interesting. I think about this more and more often, you know, is that, you know, you think about it being buried in the ground. I just can't disrespect my body that way. And I have this inner, I don't know, intuition thought, you know, it's a release, the fire, the consumption. Now, of course, recently found out, do you know they cannot cremate all people? In fact, if you have a certain amount of body fat, you can't be cremated. You become a real mess. All that fat melts and it becomes very explosive. I didn't know that. Just someone says, "What the hell are you talking about this?" Oh, how do we get from the moon to, now talking about, cremation or, being buried in the ground? Can you, I don't know. This is kind of the strange thing. I was in back in the day, I was, state in Texas. I had my state license, where I could sell burial insurance. Then I became an ordained minister, and it truly was true. I could marry you or I could bury you. It was all legal. But, outdoor cremation in Crestone, Colorado. Yeah. But check me out on this, Blazer. I think you will find that this is true, that, again, if you have a certain density of body fat, most crematories won't do it. It's I didn't know that, but then I thought about this other thing. Hey, Lady Ellie, how are you doing? Good to see you. Favor be with you. Twilight, son of Lilith, how are you? I got this grimoire of hers that has legitimacy has become, which is that? That's interesting. But anyway, the thing is, I think about this and, yeah, I know that, when they prepare the body, that's a hell of a process. I mean, I love my body and, and I'm thinking about, so they're going to drain all the fluid out of my body. And then they're going to pump me full of formaldehyde. And then they're going to trace my body out there in this plastic looking thing where they're going to simply have a suit and a tie. I ain't got no pants. Because they don't need no pants, and then they're going to close that and the place that I was at to get your license, you had to literally lay in the casket, weird feeling. And let me tell you what, it ain't comfortable. And the fact of the matter is, all that white fluffy stuff, it just becomes yuck. And it's weird, yeah, if you want the headrest, but I'm not in there. So what does it matter whether my head has a rest or not? But when they close that coffin lid, and, they're trying to tell you it's hermetically sealed and what have you, it's a strange place. I mean, they close that lid and, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm thinking, so what do I do if I need to get out of here? It's like, you ain't going anywhere, Jackson. You're staying right there. And, I love my body. My body has been a joy. And I just can't see doing that to it. It seems somewhat disrespectful. I don't know. Certainly distasteful. And what happens? All those coffins eventually collapse. Then you get all that funky dirt on you. I mean, which, I don't know. Mary Wynn says, it's No Pants Wednesday. Oh, no, that is just funny. I love that. What is it, Jenny says, you can choose not to be pumped with that stuff for the land unless you have an open casket. Yeah, you see? Yeah, we're gonna get into the Kansas thing. We're all dust in the wind. That is so true, so true. Bonnie, you're right. Worm food. That's what I'm saying. You see, I don't know. I have this inner image of, maybe like I said, maybe it's just me and my interpretation, but the reason why I'm going the cremation route, and so is my wife, I see within me a release. And Jenny, I think you could probably relate to this pretty well as well. I mean, isn't that the ultimate alchemy, isn't that the ultimate transformation? To have a living, sentient, intelligent body, and to think that that I think the release goes both ways. Yeah. I don't know. See, Twilight, what do you say, hon? I would rather burn out than fade away. I am the Lizard King. I know everything. I love that. That's cool. I like that. And Lori, I'm right there with you. I kind of figure it's like this, plant my ashes where somewhere where, the earth can benefit from it. That's the way I look at it. Because I guess technically, we all eat dead people. We eat dead things. It's what we do. The things that we eat they're dead. They were once alive, and now they're dead. And now they're feeding you and I. Holy crap, this is like the Matrix all over. Is this the liquefaction thing? I mean, holy crap. I mean, I don't dig that thing, It's like, geez. Hey, Trina. Yes, fire, the Phoenix fire. There you go, darling. That's what I'm talking about. Yosley says the barbecue. Now, you see, Yosley, every time I see that, I think of Yahweh. I get this picture, of Solomon building the temple. And for how many days was that? Like a month or something, wasn't that? Every day, thousands and thousands of bulls and everything else was slaughtered. The blood ran out of the street, but he liked that sweet smelling burnt flesh. Wait a minute. I guess I'm going to have to have potpourri when I get cremated. Because I don't like the idea now that son of a bitch would find the smell of my burning flesh to be pleasant. Maybe that's why they did burials. Nah. Bonnie says, I think of Baal. Isn't that interesting? I wouldn't have thought of that. Like the wildfires, bringing back the nutrients to the forest. I like that. Scotty Boy says, I love my truck. I'm not going to have it stop. Let's see. Dancing on Way says, my Catholic parents were each put into a $10,000 casket, then into a mausoleum in a Catholic cemetery. Now, that's some strange stuff. Mausoleums. I mean, I like cemeteries. My wife and I do. I just like going around to the headstones and just realizing that these people at one time had their lives. But mausoleums, now that's a little strange. I mean, the waking dead live there. And I say that in all seriousness. And there's been enough evidence caught on camera that validates the mausoleums. There's something about that. I mean, it's like someone once said that, the reason why they bury us 6 feet under is for hygienic purposes and what have you. But others believe it's also the reason why the spirits don't walk. They can't get up out of all that earth. I don't know. Maybe there's metaphoric thing. Think about 6 feet of density. Holy crap. I mean, that would take some getting out of, man. Jeez. Go, what do you say? What do you think is the rock from the moon when they go to the circle of, oh, yeah, the cube, the there in Mecca. Yeah. Well, I did a show on that one. You ever heard of the black goo? Yeah. But there's a lot to that. Lilith says we are higher than our supposed creator. Got no problem with that. High five on that one, darling. See, Jenny says, in Iran, cemeteries are like parks with stone barbecues so that they are filled with energy and life. How interesting, Jenny. We ought to do a show on that. Wow. I could see that. I really can. I think that's probably one of the most respectful aspects of honoring our ancestors. I think that's rather cool. I really do. I bet you they'd like some music too. I mean, I would. I mean, it's one of those things when I cross over, there has to be music. It's part of me. I mean, I got a repertoire of hits in my head. I mean, Gilbert, my vinyl library, extends like freaking out there forever. Que sera, sera. I've been to Toto's. Wow, that is cool. With lots of children. That is so interesting, Jenny. That is really interesting. Bonnie, I have heard that joke. Hey, Susie Q. Yeah, hanging out with the dead, the Grateful Dead. There you go. I mean, yeah. I mean, we are the essence of our experiences, aren't we? I think that is so cool, Jenny. I really do. Excellent, excellent. Well, folks, had a fun time on this one. I tell you, I love this group. It's like a whitewater rafting trip. You got those moments of where it's just intense whitewater, and then you get those placid moments where it's like glass. I love it. Rick says, do our souls become stars in the sky? I am. I'm a star. You're a star. We're all stars. Yeah, I would say yes, Rick. There I am. All right, folks. Chris, right back at you. I appreciate it. Well, go out and have fun today, folks. It is a beautiful day here. We've gotten like 2-3 inches of rain. I think another couple of inches coming. What was the drought is now being replenished with ever-living waters from earth itself. It refreshes my soul and gives me renewal. So there you go. All right, everyone. Much love to you all. Y'all are the best. What a group. That's all I got to say. What a group. I think tomorrow I want to talk on this subject that we are the angelics. We are the divine ones. And maybe the portrayal of a war in heaven is actually nothing more than the war down here that we fight among ourselves. I don't know. We could talk more about that. Dancing in the rain, boy. So going back to my youth, there were, yeah. Jenny, that brings back some real pleasant memories. Oh, yeah. You see, and that's what I'm talking about, folks, right there. Time travel. Yeah. I've seen all good people. There you go. And it's y'all. Yeah. All right, everyone. Until we meet again, much love to you. Favor be upon you. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Enjoyed the convo today. I mean, it was loaded, man. All right. Much love. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, all you moderators and everybody else. Howard, thank you. Right back at you, brother. All right. Let's go do a little dancing, Lily.